What is up? It's Dakota Layden here from Destination Fear, and you are listening to the Paranormally Zone.
A ghostly apparition in the dark of night.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Hey there, fellow zoners and ponderers of the paranormal. This is the Paranormally Zone, your weekly dose of all things, you guessed it, paranormal, strange, and mysterious. My name is Patrick Koffenberg, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host with the ghosts, the armless but not hopeless, Mike Carbno. Does that one work?
Yes, I have had it removed, or might as well.
Well, sadly, it's almost become a fact right now. But it is not. It is not removed. You are not hopeless nor helpless.
Well, kinda.
Hey, I'm trying to speak highly of you here.
Yeah, you are. But yeah, it's gradually getting worse. But I do have an MRI scheduled for that, or they scheduled me for that, and a CT scan on my stomach for whatever internal issues that are going on.
Yeah, when Mike was telling me before we started recording him, I asked the simple question, is there something not wrong with you? Do you have any working appendages? And you don't want to hear what he said. So just bite,
I
bite
would
your
repeat
tongue.
it because it wasn't. it was not worth saying in the first place.
No, it was not. It was not. But hey, you know what? This
I
isn't
don't want to talk about that kind of thing.
This show is about all things paranormal, strange, and mysterious. Not all medical updates. Believe it or not,
Right.
It isn't all about our medical status and so on.
But I did have my
so forth.
nerve ablation a week and a half ago.
Yes, he did.
It's done nothing yet.
Done nothing yet, and your betrothed had
Yes.
had a hip surgery a couple
Yeah.
days ago.
She had her right hip replaced. She's at home, but at the moment she's on a date with Mr. Codone.
Yes.
You might know him as oxycodone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So she's feeling no pain
Yeah.
at the moment, which is good.
Yeah, she is doing really well. She's gets up and walks to the bathroom with her walker, with me kind of standby assist kind of thing.
Well,
She's doing good.
that's awesome. Yep, it's going to be a long recovery, but she'll get there, and then she gets her other hip replaced. It's like, good
Exactly.
God. But Mike, it is good to see you. It is another Sunday fun day of recording podcast goodness. Well, we hope it's Sunday fun day. We've had some. Well, I've had some computer crashes already. 2 of them. Hopefully that's it for the day.
A little bit of instability.
Yeah, the podcasting gods are standing in our way yet again, but we're gonna just punch them in the privates and move on past. So I said privates.
You might want to edit that out. You
Nah,
said privates.
I'll leave
and
that
punch
one.
them in the privates.
No, privates isn't. That's innocent enough. That's innocent enough. But we were like a week or so ago. We had the next 3 episodes planned: the Bigfoot encounters, which we did, the return to ghost stories, and then the return to a true crime episode. But I made those plans unaware that Mary's surgery was coming up so soon. So we had to kind of alter those plans, and we have a totally different topic today. But it'll be good. I'm
Well,
hoping.
very good. Yeah.
Good Lord, please make it good. Please.
We can
let
have
it-
a great topic. It's just the whole delivery is what makes it.
That's a great point.
So it's always iffy up in the air.
Well, I have to ask. Mr. Know-It-All, Igor, are we going to nail this?
No.
Fuck.
Well,
What does Igor know? What does he know?
he isn't even alive anymore.
Yeah, he's alive in my heart. So,
Well, yeah.
And again, Mike, this is from all of our listeners to you.
I can't.
So just never forget, never forget.
Yeah.
And also another reminder from our wonderful listeners.
I got feeling for you.
Yeah. So
I can't.
yeah, you said that already. Yeah. So Christopher Walken sends his best as well.
Yeah.
But no, we have an interesting topic, a pretty cool topic, a topic that has probably more than likely affected quite a few of our listeners in some way or another. I know it has affected Mike. I know you've had your own experiences in this situation. We're talking about the deathbed phenomena, essentially deathbed ghosts. I mean, what is going on there? Several tales throughout the years. I mean, for centuries, there have been documented accounts of any number of, as I said earlier, phenomena, apparently paranormal phenomena, when those dying are on their last breath. And man, any number of things have happened, and we're going to kind of talk about them as best we can, and hopefully we won't stumble over ourselves and we'll make it through.
Well, that's a lot to ask for.
It is.
But I will
I
do
know.
my best. No.
And then at the end of this episode, there is not necessarily the debut, the official debut of a new little bit that's going to wrap up the show, wrap up every episode from now on. Unless, of course, we get so much negative feedback about it, we'll end it immediately.
Yeah, it's like, no, tell Mike to shut his pie hole. We don't need to hear that.
Pie hole. Good God. I feel like I'm back in the 1950s when you say that.
I like to go back and forth between pie hole and cake hole.
Pie hole sounds better. Pie hole
depends on the
better.
situation and what part of the country you're in too. But
that's very true. Oh, man alive. Well, Mike, I guess without any further ado, let's dive into this. This is going to be, as longtime listeners know, most of our shows are, as the description goes, purely off the cuff. I mean, not 100%. We do some of our due diligence and some of our research.
But when we put that time into like those true crimes and everything and Sick and Twisted.
Absolutely. Yeah. 100%.
They come out pretty smart.
So we're smart. People like us. No, this is going to be, as I mentioned earlier, since it was kind of a last minute topic change due to circumstances, we didn't really get an opportunity to kind of dive deep into this, but I think it's an interesting enough topic that we'll be able to go with the flow and make this an interesting discussion. So, Mike, let's start first with the reason this popped into my brain. Okay?
Yeah.
And then we'll segue into whatever. As you know, I've spoken to you about such things a few times, I think. I mean, you're not a big sports aficionado by any means, but if there is one sport that you have, if there is one sport that you do have an affinity for, it's baseball.
Absolutely. I do enjoy the baseball.
Yes, the baseball.
I like to hold it
and
throw it
and then roll it on the ground
and name it. Anyway, go ahead.
Well,
my humor is off a little bit today. I just, one-armed humor is just not the same.
It's a little bit different. So it's a little bit different. I challenge all of our listeners to try and be funny when you have one working arm. So it's a little bit more challenging. Mike, you'll come through though. You'll come through.
Yes, absolutely. I am.
So I've always been a sports fan. I grew up in a sports family, and that's just how it is. I enjoy all sports, and
you bleed a little purple.
More than a little. Good God. Yeah. But I've also been a huge Twins fan my whole life. I've been a fan of baseball. And one of the most iconic, if the most iconic figures in baseball is one of my all-time favorites, Mr. Babe Ruth. I mean, you don't even have to be a baseball fan by any means.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of any generation. Chances are you know who Babe Ruth was.
If you enjoy hot dogs and beer, you will love Babe Ruth.
Well, and again, he has such a reputation. That's, it's funny that the beer and the hot dogs always pop up into Mike's mind first, but...
I just, that's one thing I do remember reading about him is that between, him being up to bat, he'd be in the dugout drinking a beer and having hot dogs. Back then you could do that. Yeah.
I mean, and I'm not denying that it happened on occasion, but it's definitely
I'm not saying anything negative either.
No. I gotcha. But regardless of his eating habits, drinking habits, and he was a partier. He loved it. He loved a life. He was bigger than life.
He lived it. Yeah.
And I just recently finished an audiobook on Babe Ruth. It was actually the second time I flew through it. It's called The Big Fella. It's a great book. author Jane Ivey, and it's thoroughly written, thoroughly researched. If you're interested in baseball and particularly Babe Ruth, I highly recommend it. And to make a long story short, too late, on his deathbed, when Babe, was nearing the end, he was slowly disintegrating as he had nasal cancer that spread to his throat and just everywhere, basically.
That is horrible.
And his last day, he was in and out of consciousness, basically, and he had been given the last rites. But out of nowhere, he wasn't lucid at all, that entire last day of his life. But around 7 o'clock at night, Babe pops up, jolts out of bed, starts
and points over to the. Anyway, no, sorry. I had to throw that in.
I know. Yep.
But this is an awesome story.
He
It's so
called
fantastic.
his shot. He called his shot. But he pops
Well,
up out of
basically,
bed.
he did.
Oh, 100% he did. I mean, he
With
whether
this-
or not you believe he was pointing towards center field or he was just giving it to the dugout, either way, he
Yeah.
was basically saying that's only 2 strikes, buddy, and the next pitch, bam, over the center field ball. Anyways, but he jumps out of bed and he's kind of fairly lucid and he starts getting dressed and he wants to get out. And his doctor's in the room and he's like, "Babe, what are you doing? Where are you going?" And Babe simply says, "I'm heading over the valley." And the doctor goes, basically, "Well, no, you're not." Kind of calms him down, gets him back into bed, lays him down, gets him all comfortable again. And within the hour, he has passed away. He falls unconscious within 15 minutes, is in his final coma, and then dies. But like right before that, he had this burst of energy. And for some reason, that phrase stuck to me. It sounded biblical to me. I'm heading over the valley. I'm heading over the valley. And I mean, what was... So, okay.
Very church hymnal kind of line.
And I immediately, of course, I connect kind of the paranormal to it. I'm like, is he in the middle of transitioning somehow, some way there, or is it just, is his mind just all effed up from medication and his sickness?
Lack of oxygen.
Right. The pseudo skeptics will definitely say it's just all purely just a medical condition. But to you, Mike, does that seem like it's something more than that? And then and if so, why? And then kind of segue into some of the experiences that you have had with your job.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's like he had this, it was like he had this message given to him that, okay, we're going to be leaving soon. So it's like all of a sudden his consciousness came back, the excitement, and he was just ready to go. I mean, probably laying there dying, but still in his mind, oh, I'm ready to go. When is this going to end? Which I have heard many times. People ask me, how long is it going to take for me to die? I mean,
oh my God,
that the people, they go through that. So, with that excitement, maybe he got that message. He's getting up ready to go, thinking in his mind, the physical, and not the spiritual, where you can just lay there. You don't have to move. You don't have to get up and get dressed. We're going to come and get you, So, thankfully the doctor was able to calm him down, get him back into bed. Then there's that hour that went by where he was waiting, and they came and got him.
That's a great way of looking at it.
Across the valley.
Took him across the valley. I kind of got the shivers when you said that, Mike. It kind of, guided him to the next level, maybe.
I think we're all guided. I think at that point, whether it's positive or negative. I mean, whether you believe in heaven or hell, or if you go one place or the other, you're going to have some kind of a guide there that. It's either going to be one you're going to be happy to see or one you're not.
And it could be, it could be how you've lived your life too. I mean, granted, he didn't adhere to his Catholic upbringing, but he was so much.
Good man, though.
But he was a good man, and he believed in a God, and he. So to him, I'm going over the valley. That obviously means something specific, because of his kind of his not necessarily his upbringing, but his viewpoint on, faith, basically.
Right.
So, I mean, if someone who maybe doesn't adhere to a particular faith, maybe they would say or see something totally different, you know what I mean? But it has essentially the same meaning. So,
Right.
yeah, again,
exactly.
to me, it struck me as something more than just,
Yeah.
you know,
Very, very religious. Not, I don't want to say religion, but the very spiritual. But it has the religious, aspect to
Yeah.
it as well.
you know, and
It's just a fantastic story.
I obviously wasn't in the room when this happened, but I remember being told on a personal note here, when my dad was nearing the end, he had kind of a similar experience, but it wasn't like when they returned him back, he didn't have, he wasn't gone immediately. He was still there for, days or whatever it was. But he did. I remember, I can't remember if it was my mom or another family member saying that he jumped out of bed and he started getting dressed because he's like, I'm fine. I'm going. I'm leaving.
Yeah.
It's like, no, bud, no, you're not. So to me, that definitely leans towards he was just really, really messed up in, at that
Yeah.
moment. So whereas this one is kind of, it feels different to me. And this is just one example, obviously. Again, this has happened for
exactly.
centuries. Documented accounts of this happening for centuries.
Yeah.
Is there anything? Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
I was going to say, like your father could have been like his body and mind that was there. It's like that last bit of instinct for survival or something, maybe, because he didn't want to go,
Right.
leave everybody behind. And it's like he just, nope, I'm fine. I'm getting up and just leave all this cancer crap behind. But, it was like maybe his last big shot.
Exactly.
you know.
Exactly. It's so.
And with Babe Ruth, he was ready to go.
Now let's talk about some of. Your experiences, Mike. We have a couple of things on my professional notes here, as you can hear them. I did write a few things down here I want to make sure to cover. But before I forget, is there any particular experience that jumps out to you, Mike? I know you've had several, and you've shared them on the podcast before. I know you've spoken about several times you've seen your patients like looking beyond your shoulder or looking over, like they have seen somebody who's there waiting. Like, talk to us about some of those experiences.
Yeah, like you said, that's the most common, I think, where you're standing there with them or at the end of their bed and you're trying to assess whatever needs to be done, and they're looking at, you can tell if they're looking at you or beyond you, and it's either like over the shoulder, above your head. I mean, and a lot of times they aren't saying anything. Sometimes you'll hear them kind of mumbling something or maybe reach out a little bit. It's like you just know they're seeing somebody they know, somebody they recognize, and then at the same time, I've had this a patient where I had been seeing her for quite a while, taking care of her, never really said very much. She was very, very quiet. And I remember one day going in there and she started talking to me and said, it's about time for me to leave. And I think in like 2 weeks, I'm gonna go. And it's like, you kind of humor people when they're talking about that or whatever. They, but she just went into such a talk with me about family and growing up. And it was just like, whatever she did not say during the time that I was seeing her, it's like she was making up for it this day and just talking and talking and talking and letting everything out and still referring back to when she leaves. And I didn't really ask her any questions, but
yes, let her talk.
Like, it's like she knew, and it was just under 2 weeks, I think. And
I was going to ask you if that actually was 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Dang.
Oh yeah, it was pretty accurate. But to you, she seems at those moments she was very again, here's that word, lucid, and she was exactly. I mean, she was like it's like her energy was just doubled, from what I ever remember seeing her before. I've had another patient.
Is that
where
like do you think that's maybe
Go
like
ahead.
because is that maybe perhaps a level of acceptance? Maybe she's
that could very well be, yeah.
and she's comfortable with it, you know.
Yep, comfortable and sometimes even excited about that, and
Yeah.
anticipation of being done with what she's gone through and what the patient has gone through. But
there's
ahead.
one thing that popped in my brain. I don't have
Yeah.
the book on my. I'd have to stand up, and I don't want to do it at risk of somehow making the laptop collapse again on me. So,
Yeah.
knock on wood. But there is a book that I received years ago from a guest who had never appeared as of yet. Hopefully she will someday. I don't know what the heck happened. It's been so long. But she was an author / psychic, and her book was called The Fun of Dying. Now, it sounds like a bizarre title, but it's basically talking about, a lot of what you were talking about, Mike, and what we've just briefly discussed is the level of comfort, and you said kind of almost excitement, for if it's especially if it's a peaceful transition. The book is basically about have nothing to fear. This is a beautiful thing that is happening, and it's pretty powerful stuff. I need to contact her again, actually, and we'll get her on the podcast. But that's what reminded me of that, Mike, when you said excited. So
yeah,
I wanted to get that out there. But go ahead.
Most of the time it's like, it just ends with somebody asking me, about the death or whatever, how long it might take and everything. But I like at the same time, I had this patient where he said that his brother was there visiting him, and his brother, he didn't have a brother that was alive anymore.
And there was no one in the room other than you.
And nobody in the room but me. Yeah. Well, even my father. He said that his parents, I told this story not that long ago, probably even, but his parents came to him when he was taking a nap one day, laying down to take a nap, and he opened his eyes, and his mom and dad were there, looking very healthy and young, and
looking young.
And then, yes, looking very healthy and young. And when he was in the hospital, when he was getting very close to dying, he would say, when I'd go there in the morning, he'd say, "Well, your mother was here last night."
Wow.
And he would say that she would be there just with him or touch his leg, and he would feel it. My brother even experienced something there with something, I can't remember what it was, but something moving across the bedside table, that the hospital bed table.
Oh, that's sparking a memory. Yeah, I remember you telling me that.
And so there was actually some like paranormal things that was actually witnessed by other family. I didn't, but yeah. And then, and he passed away not that long after that. So like within a couple of days.
And so, I if I'm correct here, your dad was a firm believer in the afterlife and, the paranormal.
Well, yeah. He was raised the way I was.
Yep,
on that stuff.
Pass it on down to his little Casper.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's just a nickname. I can't get over the Casper nickname, but hey, that's actually in your email. I think it is. Well, your old email had Casper in it, but not the new one.
Mm-hmm.
So, to me, this is just utterly fascinating. We can go any number of directions with this. I believe that something's happening there for sure. Something spiritual, 100%. It's not all just medically explainable. It's not just being hopped up on meds or whatever.
Yeah. Electrical impulses in your brain misfiring.
That's exactly it. Yeah. The kind of the instinctive, I want to survive reaction that your body may be going through, it's, I think there's something more to that. Chances are most of our listeners probably think there's something more to that. You've experienced it. You've seen it. Yeah. You felt it. So, I mean, how do you argue with that?
Yeah, I can't, and I won't.
And that's not like a question I'm throwing out to everybody. I'm just asking.
Right.
I was actually kind of directing that to Mike because I know he wouldn't argue it, and like you just said, I won't. He says.
But hey, if there are listeners that would argue it, hey, we would love to hear that. We aren't, as long as you're not a Pedro, we won't be upset about anything like that.
Yeah, and again, just so if you're a new listener, just so we are clear.
Yeah.
when we say do not be a Pedro, it is in a response to a gentleman whose name was Pedro,
Exactly.
who sent us some rather ridiculous commentary about how we have no right to talk about anything unless we've personally experienced stuff. So we cannot talk about the moon until we land on it ourselves. So that was basically the logic of his. He was pointing towards us. So,
I don't hate Pedro or anything.
Oh heck no! Of course you don't.
He has his own opinion, and I can appreciate that.
Doesn't mean we agree with it, though, does it?
Yeah, just don't be a Pedro.
So some of the notes I wrote down here, Mike, they might seem kind of silly, but the first thing that I see here is simply, why are they there? What pops into your mind when I ask, like, okay, why would I'm going to use the term ghosts. Why would ghosts be lingering at a loved one's deathbed? Why would they come back and visit?
Well,
is it purely to help them transition, or is there something more to it?
I think there's a lot to the transitioning. In the job that I hate to say that I had, since I don't do it anymore.
But you worked for several years, a lot of experience.
Yes, with hospice and everything, and until my body gave up. But anyway,
I just had to throw that in there, didn't you?
Yeah, but anyway, I know I lost my spot. Where was I?
You think there's a lot more to transitioning? There's a lot to
the transitioning. Like with my job, I would see the physical transitioning. Like the dying process of declining, and then
the physical aspect.
Yeah, the physical aspects. You're declining. You're going into that transition into the imminent, where you're very close to passing away. But that's where us helping with the transition ends, and it's passed over to the next step.
Okay.
It's like a written agenda that maybe they have there. It's like maybe they have like a board where people have to go and look, or spirits have to go look. Okay, who do I have today, this morning?
There you go.
which one of my family is passing away? And then
it kind of makes sense though what you're getting at. It's like, how would we're still in the physical existence, how would we help them transition more than we possibly can? Like you said, you're there by their bedside, comforting them, helping them, and that's basically all you can do, really.
Yeah, I was there when I was with somebody that was passing away. I was there until they took their last breath. Well, I was there after with, cares that I would have to, and things I would have to do afterwards. But it's like, the family that's waiting, they're just waiting for that moment. I mean,
Mike, can I ask you how that made you feel? I know I've talked to you about this. We've talked about it on the podcast before, but for story time's sake, were you ever even remotely ever bothered or saddened or anything? Was there anything negative to you? Because I know that you're such a positive person when it comes to spirituality, and there's something else after this life here, this physical life. Were you ever disturbed at all? I'll put it that way. Disturbed during these transition processes?
Well, it never bothered me like physically, like creepy out or anything like that.
Right.
I mean,
right.
But like emotionally, I would get so attached to people, and so much more than others. Well, which had a relationship with Linda.
Oh heck yeah! Still waiting to hear from her though.
Yeah. She said she was going to try and give us some ideas for podcast topics from the grave.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I mean, so, I hope you understand that I wasn't like suggesting like, were you creeped out? I mean, no, that I wouldn't think that.
No,
but I understand like you're getting attached and it's emotional for you, but it's never been anything that has bothered you in the least sense.
No. I mean, the emotional and the sadness is all on our physical side. I mean, when that transition happens and they're passed over to their family that's waiting for them, or whoever's waiting for them, it's like changing from the funeral to a birthday party. Just kind of a simple analogy like that, but it's just happy, hugging, reconnecting with family that you hadn't seen since they passed away. Just a reunion.
And it has to be so. It's like a soothing effect for them, I'm sure.
Yeah, and just so welcomed and loved. And you hear stories of people that have come back, and they a lot of times will say that they feel that overwhelming love that they couldn't even imagine existed.
Yeah,
from that where they went and coming from the spiritual lights that are there, that the beings.
And you hear several stories about those who, people who did have like a near-death experience. A lot of times they were saddened when they were revived, when they came back, because they felt such love and such a warm embrace and safety. And
did not want to go back, because, well, when they get back into their body, there's that pain and that pain of living again.
Oh, man.
That is gone when you get to pass over that every physical pain. And well, I'm going off on because of my because of my own ailments here, but why come back to that when you feel the most love and compassion and comfort that you've could ever feel in your lifetime?
Yep, that's a great question, great point.
But if you have to go back, if they aren't ready, you have to go back. There's something you need to do. You have no choice.
So do you think of, and again, this is another one of my silly questions, perhaps silly. You're in that room with a patient and they're speaking with, or like your father, for instance, and he says, yeah, your mom was here, or, your mom is here. My brother is here, or he was here. Is that a ghost to you? As simple and maybe silly as that question sounds, is that a ghost?
Well, I would think so, because I mean, it's that family member or friend or whatever, that's passed over. What passes over, their spirit, their ghost, or whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I would think that's the form that comes back. I mean, that's what's there. That's what is existing there.
I think it's just because I think the term ghost is just so all encompassing, and it makes you it makes you automatically think of a particular event almost.
Like an old castle in a haunted mansion or something.
Exactly.
But there's a lot more to ghosts and spirits than and rattling chains in an attic somewhere.
Yeah, it's I like to use the term like the essence almost. It's
sure, there you go.
You can, like, your dad just felt your mom's essence, and she she was there, and maybe your brother
and would be every bit of her spirit.
Yes,
and essence it can all be just encompassed in that one word of essence. I mean,
and I wonder
that just covers all that.
I wonder what your brother saw. I mean, wonder what was. Was that your mom like letting your brother know in a physical way? Was she manipulating something?
If I remember right, yes. Steve, you'll have to let me know. I can't remember exactly that whole story, but
I mean, know what I'm saying. It's like, she's like, okay, I can connect with my dying husband here on a level that I can't connect with my living son. So maybe I should somehow show him something in his physical world that I'm here.
Yeah. That
I like that
sounds
thought.
very good. Yeah.
I like that thought.
Mm-hmm.
Random commentary here, Mike. I keep thinking you have like a stegosaurus model behind your head, but it's just your lamp. It looks like
I see it.
It looks like they're plates that they had on their back. And the way that you're okay, now it doesn't anymore. Yeah, okay, thank you.
It's
Mike just has
there's 5 lights on these
and the way it was shaped, Mike's round cap, and then and just it formed perfectly around your cap, like it was like stegosaurus plates. So it was kind of cool.
It did look like that.
Anyways, a little bit of nonsense-cast radio there for you all.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, by the way, I did.
Yes.
It's time for shameless plugs. I did permanently lower the Patreon prices. We would love to see you guys there. We got a ton of content over there. Over 350 exclusive posts that you cannot find anywhere else, and we're pretty darn proud about it. We're passionate about it, proud of it, I should say. We think you'll enjoy it. I've been posting some random video clips. I did just recently, as longtime listeners know, the story of little Deborah and May. I did just find her official and real final resting spot. And Mike, I have to tell you, it was pretty surreal.
Yeah, I wish I could have been there. That would have been perfect. That we could have, after all these years and what we've gone through with her,
with Debbie,
both of us to have been there would have been great. But
Mike, essentially,
I'm so glad that you found it.
We are. I mean, it's not a stretch to say that we are doing this podcast right now because of Debbie.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth to that, I think. Yeah.
I mean, it's a different way of looking at it, but I think
Sure.
I think there's a fair amount of truth to that for sure.
Yeah, she was actually a big influence, pushing us towards that direction. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. And to any new listeners out there going like, what are you talking about? Debbie is very important to us because that's the EVP that we captured. This is the undeniable EVP. You can't debunk this thing. I just trust me. We've spent damn near 15 years trying to figure out what the hell it is, and all it comes back to is no, it's a ghost.
and still finding new ones in there.
Still
after
finding
listening to
new ones, and they are
is
bizarre. And again, perfect segue to cheap plug here. They're all available at Patreon. Go take a listen, judge for yourself. But I challenge you to try and debunk what we've picked up on audio years and years ago. And we've been basically trying to capture something, the equivalent of that since then,
Yeah.
We've come kind of close in a few times, but my skeptical mind keeps on going, that's probably...
Your James Randi comes out a little
bit. No. But anyways, I'll keep this one
way in the back of your head.
I'll keep this shameless plug really brief. But if you guys want to support the podcast, you can sign up for Patreon for as little as $1 a month. No obligations. It would be great.
We shall still love you no matter what.
Absolutely. So lots of stuff over there. Now, another stuff that I had written down, My English is just great.
What stuff you got, Patrick?
Man, I've said safeness, and now I said my one other stuff.
Okay, and have I chastised you one bit about any of these things that...
Well, I know you've wanted to.
Nope, didn't even come to my mind. Because they're probably all things I would have done and not even thought about it.
Yeah, well, that's true. And I hate it when I stumble over my damn words, but... Christopher Walken,
tell
do you
Patrick that you've bought in anything?
No, don't do that, please. Christopher Walken, do I sound terrible more often than not?
I don't know.
That's not very reassuring.
He can't even figure it out.
No, he can't. So, anyways, this is usually how Christopher Walken reacts when he listens to me bumbling the English language. Yeah.
That one makes me laugh.
I know. I don't know why.
I could just see his face when he does it, Like on Saturday Night Live, I could see him doing that.
Okay, well, we kind of briefly discussed, why they would be there, and I think it's safe to say that we both agree that it's to help the transition, the comfort, comfort the dying, let them know that, hey, you know what, this isn't a bad thing. You're going to something even grander.
Yeah. Why does the living family stay with them at their bedside? That's our part.
Yeah.
The other side, they're waiting. That's their part.
Yeah, the part that we can't do. The part we can't do. Now, this one might be kind of a head scratcher, Mike, and it might make your head hurt a little bit. Because when I was writing it down, I was like, what am I getting at here? What? I don't even know what I'm asking.
I got to prepare myself for this one. Let me take a deep breath.
I wrote down, are the soon-to-be deceased... That sounds like I'm not very caring at all.
Soon-to-be deceased. Sounds like something from Monty Python.
Are those dying? Are those in the process of dying? Are they already in some state of the paranormal? And no, not like Minnesota and Louisiana or something like that. Are they in some form of the spiritual, of what we cannot see?
Wow.
It's a tough one.
Like
when Babe popped out of his bed and he gets dressed and he's been, I'm not mocking him. He was basically comatose for the prior day, and then he has this burst of energy, and I'm heading across the valley.
Non-responsive he was, and everything.
Non-responsive. Then this happens. Now, was he transitioning at that point, even though his body was still physically alive.
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, that was could very well be part of the transition. Like I said, just thinking in the physical because of him being still alive, for him to go over the valley or whatever, he's still thinking in that mode of, well, I better get dressed and leave to do that. And like I said earlier, you don't have to do that. It's that's still part of the living. So in that hour between the doctor getting him back to bed and his passing, that's still a transitioning. I would say a spiritual transitioning part, especially when they're imminent, like when at a point where their last breath could be at any time. Mm-hmm. That's got to be a huge spiritual, event right there. That's that passing the torch basically, but it's passing the soul.
And I have no idea. But I imagine that you have to feel a overwhelming sense of detachment, like in a good way. It's like you're no longer, trapped in this vessel, this physical vessel.
Sure. It's like, people having an out of body experience. I mean, there's that freedom. I mean, you can do anything, go anywhere. I mean, there's such a departure from the physical to the spiritual. I mean, we can't wrap our minds around it because, we haven't experienced that.
Exactly.
To that extent. I mean,
it could be an experience that words cannot describe.
Well, exactly. Not in this dimension.
No.
There could be new words that we've never heard of and on the other side that they use.
Right. Do you think, Mike, that this is another silly little note I wrote down / question. I wrote down stages of a ghost ? Now, by that, I mean, I think you can figure out what I mean by that question, but I'll try to clarify. Are there stages of like the transition begins from physical to the spiritual / essence, whatever you want to describe it as? Stages from that to, for lack of a better term, full-fledged ghosthood. You know what I mean? Are different. I keep going to the word stages. The only word that's popping into my brain. Levels maybe of the paranormal that one's essence goes through. Another loaded question, I know.
Do you mean like something that's going to develop from one level to another, or one that's like at a certain level?
I know we've talked about before on prior podcasts, like the idea of attaining like spiritual perfection, of enlightenment, of reaching the highest high. Is that something that you abide by, Mike? Do you think that perhaps ghosts that are lingering in this physical vessel or physical existence and coming back and forth every now and then to contact us for whatever reason, are they not at that level of perfection? You know what I mean?
Well, sure. I mean, there's always got to be some development somewhere. I mean, where we go after here, I don't think is even the last step to go. I mean, there's going to be levels. I mean, like you're asking it, like there was a man named Clarence one time that he did not actually become a full-fledged until that bell rang. Every time a bell rings, an angel gets its wings.
It's not time for your bit yet. Okay. Yes.
No. I mean, just saying that.
Just a few more minutes.
That's a very, off the cuff example.
It is. But, I gotcha. I see where you're going.
Very, dramatized, of course. But,
as the young kids back in the day used to say, I got what you're laying down.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
I
got your groove, man. I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Anyway,
pulled out my retro geekness right there by saying that, but that's okay.
It's cool, man.
It's again. I think you know what my question was, and you answered it pretty thoughtfully, I should say, other than the Clarence thing. But that's okay.
Well, that was an afterthought that just kind of popped out.
That's my idea. That's what I would like to think, is that there are levels of development in the paranormal, realm.
Sure. I mean, even if there's, let's say, a spirit or a ghost is haunting a place for 200 years, and all of a sudden something happens where somebody comes along and helps them to cross over and releases them or whatever, there's a next stage of development.
Yeah.
And
that 200 years means nothing to that spirit.
Exactly. Oh yeah. Time is time is our thing, not theirs.
Exactly.
So,
well, I want to wrap this initial conversation up. Do you have any questions for me, Mike? I feel like I'm always throwing questions your way, and I never allow you to try to unlock this box up here.
It's because you are the consummate interviewer.
Oh, I guess. Yeah.
I am the struggling interviewee at these moments.
Mike, when we do have, I am in the process of scheduling some cool interviews coming up here as well, by the way, guys. It's been really interesting as far as booking interviews lately. I'm not making excuses, but I really wonder if a lot of these guests who used to be so open to appearing on podcasts, I wonder if there's something I wonder if the clamps are being held down by larger, network entities, maybe.
Well, I could put one name on that, but I won't.
Okay, thank you. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there isn't, but I've had several, and they've all been polite. I've reached out to a number of potential guests, and they basically all said, "No, we thank you for the polite invite. We would, but we can't for whatever reason."
Yeah.
I'll tell you some names after we go off.
So does that mean we aren't ever going to get Stormy Daniels on then, or what?
Well, hey, we had her. She was booked. She was absolutely booked.
Yeah,
and then,
I know.
And then she
had a TV engagement or
exactly.
something.
She had some filming to come up, and it was
So
that has
which is fine.
Never materialized.
I mean, that does happen. Yeah.
Absolutely, it does. Absolutely, it does. I mentioned that the psychic author, the author who's also a psychic, she claims to be, who gave me that awesome book. That's another example where something is set in stone, and for whatever reason, it just doesn't happen, and it just almost fades into obscurity.
You know what happened?
Please tell me.
Before the date came up that they were supposed to be on, they listened to our show.
You know what? Hey, at least they sent me the book before they listened.
Yeah, there you go. Why didn't I get a book? God dang it. I like getting these books.
That was so long ago.
I'm here too, people.
I really honestly think that was before you were a regular co-host.
It was that long ago.
It was a long time ago.
I did not know that.
And there was another gal that I had set up, and she had so many freaky stories about demonic possession that she has had, again, alleged experience in, and I honestly do not remember whatever happened to that one. I do remember trying to set up the interview, and then my Skype or something didn't work. Everything was collapsing, and I was like, okay, we'll just have to do this some other time. And I kind of jokingly said, I think it's the demons. They're not allowing you on the show. That's no joke,
Scared her away.
Yeah, who the heck knows? But anyways.
But we do have some great stuff coming up.
We have some cool stuff coming up. I can't wait to talk to them, including some fairly local paranormal investigation
very
group. Very successful. An author of the book Bigfoot Influencers. He is going to appear on the show. I'm looking forward to that. And several more in the works. So fingers crossed that they all come to fruition.
Yeah.
So, Mike, final thoughts here before we throw it to you for the new bits. Let's see how that goes. Deathbed Ghosts. Again, I like the title, but I'm not necessarily on that side of the aisle where ghosts are lingering, or what we usually consider a ghost. Like you said earlier, it's not something up in the attic rattling its chains. It's not the stereotypical vision, but something is happening there. The essence of those who have passed on, the loved ones, friends of those who are dying, are helping them transition. I think that's what we have come to an agreement on, right?
Absolutely. Yes, I agree.
Nothing creepy about it. Nothing eerie. I think it adds a lot of credence to some of the, again, I'm using that word, alleged hauntings of hospitals. People who work there say they experience the unexplained. Perhaps some of that can be explained as a returning loved one visiting and helping their family member transition. I think that's a possibility. Mike, are you in disagreement on that one? All I got was a huh from you.
Well, I'm thinking, very much about what you had said, and there,
This is actually, Mike was thinking about what I'd said, but then it literally left his head the moment he said
no,
that.
it didn't. It's just I'm trying to process it in a way because that's a lot of what people think is actually. I mean, and a lot of that does happen. A lot of that is that way. A lot of it is.
Okay, what are you talking about? You're a lot of
everything that you were just explaining and talking about and going over, but. And I hate to say this, but what you didn't know.
Oh, okay. Mike just got there.
I don't, but I have a hard time with this because, there are people that, I'm a huge fan of the certain series of movies. Okay. I love them since I saw the first one, and I wish there were more, but it is such a parallel to what is exactly going on, with this whole spiritual afterlife and everything. And it's
so a movie series parallels what we've been talking about.
Well,
can you elaborate?
Anybody that has seen the movie The Matrix, that is what is real. And I've thought about this a lot. I have gone over this in my mind so often. I've had my thoughts about, who and what God is or anything, but we are just batteries in the matrix. And that's what is, comes to us looking like family. And see, I'm switching everything around because this is what I'm sorry. I quit.
So, okay. You had me really worried there for a second.
I'm sorry.
You had me nervous because your GD poker face was on full effect there, full display. For a moment, I was like, Mike, you can't be going down this direction because I know that you think there's more to that. I was going to say that really lessens the importance of what we've just talked about for the last 15 minutes.
The entire episode would have been shot.
That would have been shot.
But no, I am a big fan of the Matrix movies. I love them.
Yes, we do know.
My God,
that's a whole another topic and a half. I mean, I think we did briefly or try to cover our thoughts on the Matrix, the idea of us living in a Matrix.
Yeah,
way back as the Ultimate Round podcast, I believe.
And you talk about a rabbit hole like they explain it on the show, on the movie. It's so, but there are people that actually believe that is what is really.
I know, absolutely,
really happens. Yeah.
I mean, it's funny. I think I mentioned this. Everything seems like it's only a few weeks back, and it was probably like 8 years ago.
Yeah.
But when I was driving home with Jaden, pick her up from tennis practice or whatever it was, and I came to that T in the road here on the County Roads Connect, and I take a left to get down to Beach Haven Road here, and I look to the right, and there's no cars coming for a long ass time. No cars coming to my right. I look to the left, no cars coming. I take the left, and like immediately there's a car on my ass. I'm like, where the hell did this come from? Yeah. And then Jaden goes,
you didn't see it. That you looked,
And Jaden goes, glitch in the Matrix, eh? She didn't throw in the A part. I added that, but
yeah.
I was like, you know what? Who knows? I don't know. It was, maybe I just was being rather unobservant, but I don't think so, man. That car came up
that's
like
a pretty
nothing.
Open area to be able to see, though.
That's the thing. It was, I don't know. Who the hell knows? But I'm going any number of directions here. But, Mike, I think it's time to wrap this up. We did. It was a long-winded attempt to get to, believe it or not, it's come and gone, the new bits. Mike is going to wrap up every episode with, but what you didn't know. And hopefully you're not going to just like decimate our entire conversation.
No, this was kind of a special, what you didn't know.
Okay. So going forward, Mike is going to be prepared, and he'll have some cool ideas as to what you didn't know. Is he telling the truth, or is he pulling your leg? It's for you to decide. But he's going to. I
promise, if I'm pulling your leg, that's all I'll pull.
Why do you have to go there? Why do you have to go there?
Sorry.
It's okay, Mike. You're okay.
I just didn't want anybody to worry.
No. Well, speaking of not worrying, we're not going to go on any longer. So this has been a great discussion.
Don't worry about it.
No, this has been fun though, Mike. I think there's a lot to it if you sit down and think about it. Something's definitely going on there. Yeah. Chances are, if you're listening to this podcast, if you listen to podcasts about the paranormal, you're open to this idea. And by the way, Mike, I've the ghost hunting page of ours. Again, just if people are trying to find us on Twitter, we have Paranormally Zone at Paranormally Zone on Twitter, which is the podcast page. And then we have our ghost investigating team that Mike and I started years and years ago called Para. That's a separate page, and that's called Paranormally Z. So we've been getting followed by a lot of people in the paranormal field on our Paranormally Z page, which is awesome. The latest follower today, though, was a man who I'm going back and forth as to whether or not I'm going to follow him, because I don't want to get into arguments. But apparently he's a pretty well-known name in the skeptic field, and he challenges all things, that's in his description. He's like, I challenge all things wacky and all things alleged mysterious and bizarre. So he's like, he kind of wants to get into those type of conversations with people like you and myself. He challenges us.
Are you going to divulge his name, or are you going to just...
I'm going to go look at his page again and decide. I'll follow him back. It's all good. But I just want to let you know that perhaps we may be engaging with some... I don't want to call him a pseudo-skeptic because I don't know the guy, but...
send me the info on that, and if you follow him, I will follow him as well.
Absolutely will. I saw... There's a picture of him on like some news show. I think he's over in... I think he's across the pond, if I'm not mistaken. So...
Well, I like the Englanders.
Absolutely.
That's a good part of my heritage.
You know what do all you guys feel about this idea of deathbed visitations, the deathbed phenomena? People claiming to experience all of this that those living cannot experience in any way. We're open-minded to it. We totally believe something's going on there. I want to believe something's going on there, but that isn't why I believe. I just simply believe it. Let us know what you think about all of our episodes. We want to interact with you guys. We have a great bunch of listeners who do interact. We want to hear from all of you. Just anything. Just be nice. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah.
And respect.
Send me a huggy heart thing or something.
Oh, yeah. And send healing best wishes to Mary and Mike too, because Mike's going to be undergoing that knife here soon as well to fix that damn bicep of yours. So
bicep, back, knees, my feet, my everything.
Mike,
everything.
I think you need to somehow just can you transfer your essence into another physical being? Go. I don't know.
My Great Pyrenees, maybe.
Well, another human. How's that sound?
I don't know. I wouldn't mind being a dog.
Well, how's the podcast going to work? How's the podcast going to work?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay.
And Mike, give us your thoughts. It's like, no. Anyways.
Yeah. Everybody's heard her already. So.
Well, that's very true. Obviously, she can speak English because you ask her, simply, how's life treating you? And she goes, rough.
Yeah. We do go back and forth because she barks and it's like whoop 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 whoop, just like that.
Oh, almost like a little Bigfoot type thing, huh?
Yep. So I do that back to her, and we'll go back a few times, back and forth.
Do you ever ask her what's
whoop,
on?
Whoop whoop.
Well, just ask her what's on trees too, and she'll say bark.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
Bark. Okay, it's time to wrap it up. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. This has been a blast, a great conversation. We want to hear from all you guys. And again, if you want to support the podcast, no better way than sign up for our Patreon page. It's worth it. We honestly think that we're not just sending out crap, that's for sure. It's pretty cool stuff. Lots of paranormal. I'm doing it in air quotes. Potential evidence. Go check it out. For as little as $1, you can try it out. Mike, it's been a pleasure, my friend.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been a blast.
It's been a treat.
just because it's unbelievably hot today.
It is.
My brother and I got the pontoon out on the lake, and we took a spin across the lake, and I almost melted. So,
yeah.
Because of that, we're not going to fit the Patreon episode in.
Okay.
But there's also other logical reasons, believe it or not. Thank you so much for tuning in. Mike, thanks for joining me. Until next time, my friend, what do our awesome listeners need to do?
They need to peace